Okay, everyone, I can't tell you how many times I have said Halo Wars 2 it has way too many similarities to Toy Story 3 for it to be a coincidence. In this video, I'm actually going to break this down because none of you will none of you will listen to me. And maybe I'm insane, but I'm going to lay out the similarities between Toy Story 3 and Halo Wars 2, and you can make the judgment call for yourself. I'm going to have at the very end, make sure you watch the very end, because I'm going to have the fundamental, just nail in the coffin. You can't beat this, okay? It makes too much sense. Here we go. I'm going to name out the similarity and how it happens in both Toy Story 3 and Halo Wars 2, and I'll probably, put this on the video itself for you to read, but here we go. Similarity number 1. It takes place years after the previous entry. Now, this is a little vague, but let me explain. In Toy Story 3, Andy has grown up and he's going to college. Woody tells everyone to close up shop and get ready for storage, okay? Storage is the key word here. Halo Wars 2. Let's think about the ending of Halo Wars 1. They were lost with all hands. Cutter tells Anders there's nothing to do. Kind of like Woody telling all the toys there's nothing to do. Tells everyone to go into cryo sleep, a.k.a. storage. Okay? Now all the people are getting in storage at the end of Halo Wars 1 into the beginning of Halo Wars 2. Same with Toy Story 3. Similarity number 2. There is a female friend / love interest who inexplicably vanishes despite having a pretty substantial role in the previous entry. In Toy Story 3, I'm talking about Bo Peep. She inexplicably, without a trace of anything, has vanished in Toy Story 3 and reappears in Toy Story 4, and they try to kind of fix that problem. And what I'm talking about in Halo Wars 2 is Serena. Serena inexplicably vanishes in Halo Wars 2 as well, despite being in Halo Wars 1. I know before you start I can feel you typing in the comments. You can pause. You can delete that comment. Yes, I know Serena died from rampancy. That puts a hole in this point here. So I'm just going to pretend that Serena didn't die from rampancy because Cortana didn't, right? Okay, let's move on. Similarity number 3. A mix-up puts the entire cast in a new setting that was previously unknown to them. Okay, so what I'm talking about is the toys arrive at daycare. The toys had no idea that daycare was a thing. Their entire world was Andy's room and being there for just one child. Now they're here for all these other children. So really, daycare as the setting is just so new to them. They had no idea this thing was here. That is kind of similar to the Spirit of Fire arriving at the Ark. Captain Cutter and the crew of the Spirit of Fire really had no idea what they had discovered when they approached the Ark because they were gone or lost with all hands asleep in cryo during the events of Halo 3. So this is all relatively new for them. So now that they're on this new setting, there's an early rescue mission that reveals a little more than we previously had thought. So in Toy Story 3, Woody tries to rescue Buzz, and everyone accidentally ends up going to daycare. So I know in Toy Story 2 there was the garage sale, but in Toy Story 3 it was just taking out the trash. I think Andy's mom had mistakenly thought that the toys going into storage were actually meant for the trash because they were in a trash bag. You can this is a little bit of a stretch here, but Cutter also kind of has this problem by trying to rescue someone. He responds to a distress signal, ends up actually discovering who Atriox is by sending some units down to the Ark. So an early rescue mission at this new setting. I guess technically in Toy Story 3 they haven't arrived at the new setting yet by the time this rescue mission happens, but nonetheless, early in both Toy Story 3 and Halo Wars 2, there is an early rescue mission that kind of unravels the whole events of each thing. Let's move on to the antagonist here with Toy Story 3 and Halo Wars 2. The similarity I have is the antagonist feels betrayed by its former owners and friends. So Lotso the bear was left behind and ultimately replaced, and then he got mad and called the big baby a big baby, which is absolutely cheerful. Atriox was sent in to die and was supposed to be ultimately replaced as well. The Brutes and the Prophets really had a lot of beef, as it were, and I guess the elites and the Prophets wanted all the Brutes to die and were sending him in purposefully to die and more, but nonetheless, Atriox survived and returned creating the Banished. Lotso returned, got a little triggered, and created his toy mafia that we see in Daycare. Okay, let's move on. The next similarity. The antagonist is subject to a harsh environment designed to be destroyed and ultimately rebels against this. So let me kind of elaborate. The toys who arrive at Daycare, they're subjected to really rough play sessions from the children. I think early in the film, all the toys are excited to be played for the first time in years now that they've arrived at Daycare. And I think it was a Potato Head who said he doesn't remember Andy playing that rough with them. He was losing all of his pieces. I think that's where Mrs. Potato Head, she still has her... Is that Toy Story 2? I'm getting it mixed up where she leaves her eye behind? I think it is. Anyway, with Halo Wars 2, the brutes are subjected to die in war from the Covenant. Kind of elaborate on this in my previous point, so I won't repeat myself. The antagonist takes this misunderstanding by creating a whole new mafia. Like I said earlier, Lotso creates his mafia toy gang in Daycare, kind of runs a really tight ship over there. Aatrox has created his gang known as the Banished. Moving on. Next similarity, the mysterious new character. There's a mysterious new character in both of these entries and tells the protagonist that he should run. And everyone doesn't really know who this person or thing is. If you know, in Toy Story 3, there's the Fisher-Price chatter telephone, iconic toy. Tells Woody to pick up the telephone and tells Woody to run. Woody declines, and he says that he will fight Lotso the Bear and his toy mafia. Isn't that literally the same thing as when Cutter discovers Isabel? Isabel tells Cutter all about Aatrox and says that he should run. Cutter declines, and he says that he will fight. That's a pretty strong similarity there. I don't care who you are. Okay, only a few more left. Let's move on. Next similarity. A hand is offered for peace towards the major turning point in each media, which is turned down in both accounts. So right when the toys are in the incineration plant towards the end of the film, I think Woody has kind of discovered that that's the end. There's nothing they can do. And he offers a hand to Lotso the Bear, which he ultimately declines, I think, and kind of throws the toys down closer to the incinerator, if I remember correctly. Aatrox offers Cutter peace if they leave, and Cutter declines that as well. So it's kind of an inverse. One is the protagonist offering the antagonist in Toy Story 3, and in Halo Wars 2, it's the antagonist offering peace to the protagonist. So similarity, but nonetheless, I guess a little bit of an inverted similarity. Next one is a control room must be reached to stop everyone from dying. So in Toy Story 3, the green little men, the guys who go, the claw, they reach the control room to stop everyone from being incinerated in Toy Story 3. It was absolutely cheddarful when that happened. In Halo Wars 2, Anders needs to reach the control room to stop everyone from being incinerated as well, with the new Halo ring under construction. The Banished are going crazy about that. Only a couple more left. There's a glimpse of a new main character being introduced towards the end of each of these pieces of media. We obviously know in Toy Story 3 that that's Bonnie. Don't get me started on why they abandoned that in Toy Story 4. That really drives me nuts. But in Halo Wars 2, we get kind of a glimpse that maybe Jerome will be taking the reins as not necessarily Halo's main character, but maybe the main character for the Halo Wars sub-series if we ever get a new entry in that. Jerome really took the spotlight in this, and I think a lot of people, including myself, really enjoyed seeing that. We also see some original evils return in each of these media. So we see Demo Buzz in Toy Story 3, and this is kind of very similar to the original Buzz Lightyear, who is obsessed with Star Command and the oxygen and all of these things that we see in the very first film. In Halo Wars 2, we get the Awakening the Nightmare expansion pack, which gives us the Flood, a horror that we're used to from previous entries. Now, you may say here, this is where I really get you if you disagree with me. There's no way you can come back from this, okay? You may say, these are all, you're kind of reaching here with a lot of these. Some of them I'll give you, but you're reaching on a lot of these, and this channel sucks. And I would say, you know what? You're absolutely correct. You're right on all those points. You can't tell me that this is not a coincidence. You can't tell me. Yap Yap's foot. And this is in promotional media, by the way. You can, if you think I photoshopped this, go look it up for yourself. Go on some of Halopedia and all those other sites. Look up Yap Yap the Destroyer. On the bottom it has Andy on it as a direct reference to Andy from Toy Story, because if you've never seen Toy Story, which you should stop this and go do, Andy writes his name on the feet of all of the toys. So Woody has it, Buzz has it, so on and so forth. And Yap Yap has it here as well. So you can't tell me that they were like, you know what, we're just going to put this direct reference to Toy Story on the Yap Yap character and then not have any other references to Toy Story in the rest of the game. I refuse to believe that. I firmly believe that Halo Wars 2 is Toy Story 3 in a Halo RTS game form, and you can't convince me otherwise. So please let me know, are there any other references to Toy Story 3 that I missed in Halo Wars 2? Please let me know in the comments down below. This is the weirdest video I've ever made, so there's that. If this is your first time here on the channel, well, I'm a little obsessed with Halo Wars for some strange, inexplicable reason. So if you like that, I do a whole lot of that here. And I have a second channel where I play other games that are arguably a waste of time, like Army of Two 2. I tortured myself playing that recently. Don't ask me why I did that. Okay, I'm going to go now. Have a great rest of your day. I'll see you, James.